Hey guys, Magic Man here, and today I'm going to be bringing you one of the first ranked games I actually played so far this ranked season. This is in my Farragut. I did try the Gade probably 2 games before this, and I just found that the Gade is too big of a ship to really do very well in, and the smoke screen is too short of a duration. So I've really gotten pretty comfortable with the Farragut. It has the same spotting range as the Ernst Gade at 6.6 kilometers, which, while not great, you do have the the distinct advantage of being able to usually outgun most of your opponents. Now, the Farragut actually has one of the smallest health pools at tier 6 for destroyers. I think the base is like 11,400 or something. But with the survivability expert perk, I've got it up to 13,600. So it's actually on par with most of the other destroyers now. And the DPM of the Farragut will usually let you take out any other destroyer one-on-one, for the most part. Occasionally, you know, it's not going to be a fair fight, and that's usually what's going to screw over the Farragut. So far, I've found that's what happens to be the case most of the time in the ranked play. The Japanese destroyers seem to be doing pretty well so far, just due to the fact that they have the longer range torpedoes. The Farragut is definitely more of a defensive ship, just because the range of the torpedoes on the ship. If it had 7, maybe 7.5 kilometer torpedoes, the Farragut I think would be the only destroyer that you'd see. But I've been seeing a lot of Fubukis, and I've seen a couple of Hatsuharus, and that's about it. Just been seeing a lot of Farraguts and Fubukis. As far as the cruisers go, it's been Cleveland spam. Just unbelievable Cleveland spam. That's pretty much most of the only ship I see in there. Occasionally you'll have a Bajani or a Graf Spee sprinkled in there, but for the most part it's just been Cleveland, Cleveland, Cleveland. And occasionally you'll see a French cruiser every now and again, but I wouldn't recommend the French cruisers. I had one on a team in one of my games, and he went nose in, or at least tried to go nose in to one of my smokes, and he got shot by 2 different battleships. Devastating strike. I mean, he just got deleted off the face of the earth because French cruisers have no armor. If they take a battleship shell, usually they're going to get citadeled. So that was an unfortunate start to one of those games. But so far, I haven't gotten too crazy with trying to get in and cap. And now that I see that the Fubuki is running away, I didn't know if he was going to stop there and then basically sit there and try and spot me. I didn't know what he was going to do, but luckily for me, majority of the enemy team is actually pushing over behind this island, which is going to put me in a position where I'm actually going to be able to effectively use my torpedoes this game. Most games, you know, I usually smoke up my team, say at about 11-12 kilometers, and just spam battleships with my guns. It has one effect, actually 2. Occasionally I get lucky and light a fire, and I know most of these torpedoes are going to hit the island. I do know that, but I figured if 1 or 2 got through, it would be enough to kill this cruiser. But it looked like he was accelerating, so I was anticipating him maybe turning in right there, but it doesn't look like he's really interested in doing that. I was also anticipating him coming around broadside, which is why I had a P loaded, but he really didn't do anything that I thought he was going to do. Lucky for him, but it's still not going to save his life. I do actually eat some unnecessary damage there, you know, but it is what it is. And here come the torpedoes from the Fubuki. I did get kind of reset on the cap there, but that's not too big of a deal. We have a Mutsu capturing B, and I am going to capture A. I've been seeing this a lot in rank 2. These cruisers, I got 2 cruisers. Both of them are in front of the battleships. I'm sitting here in this cap, I'm like, what the hell are these guys doing? They're all kinds of out of position. If you're sailing a cruiser in ranked, don't ever get ahead of your battleships. You're going to get focused down and you're going to die. You're going to absolutely do nothing for your team. This was really dumb on both of their parts. I could have smoked up the Cleveland, but I felt like with 2 battleships staring him down and him not really doing anything but opening up his side to all of them, there's really no point in trying to save him. So I'm going to save my smoke for myself. He gets taken out. This Graf Spee is going to die here any second. Yeah. Being in a cruiser, you are not very tanky. And battleships will remind you of that any chance they get. So I'm going to go ahead and smoke up here because I want to do some damage to these guys. And if I'm lucky, this Bayern will push up into the smoke and I won't be the only one sitting in it. Now I do have to be careful though because the Fubuki is still out there. I'm sure he's going to launch his torps again, but with this smoke screen being up here, I know he's not going to go anywhere else and try and harass anyone else because he's going to see a smoke screen and he's going to try and torp it. With that being said, I will be ready for them, or at least expecting them. And it looks like this Bayern is actually going to charge my smoke screen, which is fine by me. And this game didn't really need to be as close as it was being, but unfortunately for us, we got I'm not going to say he's a bad carrier player, but he's a weaker carrier player. He's doing a really bad job of managing his fighters. I mean, they're just hovering over the carrier, and they have been for the last 30 seconds or whatever. He could have had those over the Mutsu taken out, you know, strike squadrons, but yeah, it is what it is. This guy, he just wasn't very good with his map awareness or his micro, so hopefully if that guy is going to continue to play carriers, he does improve, or hopefully I just get ahead of him and ranks far enough where I don't have him on my team again. Because there were a lot of instances in this game where, man, this is going to be a heck of a torpedo dodge here. I was like, I'm going to get lucky if I dodge these, and I just managed to back up and angle away just enough where it's not too much of an issue. The battleship behind me, though, does eat some torpedoes, which is unfortunate for him. But you got to know when you're sitting in a smoke screen, and I do actually manage to take out that Bayern. You got to know that you are going to be having torpedoes coming your way in a smoke screen, and you should definitely angle against where you think the torpedoes are going to be coming from. With that being said, I do know the enemy destroyer is directly, or was directly, in front of me. Yeah, and there he is. Going to try and get off a shot there, and I actually take a big wallop because I was being unaware of my surroundings from this Cleveland, and I almost actually end up getting killed here, but luckily for me, well, it's not really that lucky. I would have killed this guy anyways. I would have got enough torpedo hits where it wouldn't have been an issue, but the carrier does drop on him. It's kind of a waste of a strike squad, in my opinion, going after the Cleveland. He probably should have gone after one of these other battleships with those 2 squadrons, because I was going to kill that Cleveland regardless of if he dive bombed him or not. And we do actually lose our Bayern there. Gets flooded out by the Fubuki. I'm surprised so far what I've seen in this ranked season. There are so many battleships that are not running a premium repair. I know it costs credits, but the time that it cuts down that you're going to be without a repair is just incredible, and you basically shouldn't be in a battleship unless you're running it. There's really no reason not to run it. It's only 22,000 credits a game. You're usually going to make more than that in a tier 6 ship. And I'm hoping, but it looks like maybe that New Mexico is either slowing down or turning in. Not quite sure, but I only catch the nose of his ship, and I don't know. It must have been the belt. He must have been turning in and it hit his belt, because typically, you know, if you hit the nose or the tail end of a ship, there's no torpedo belt there. They're going to take flooding 100% of the time. So he must have been turning in when he ate that, which is unfortunate. I wish he would have ate a lot more of those torpedoes than what he did, but you know, it is what it is. So at this point, I unfortunately have to smoke up. I don't want to get shot at by these battleships, although they're doing their darndest to hit me. And I don't want to get dropped on by the carrier. This is one of those times when, yeah, it would have been nice had our carrier been micromanaging his fighters a little bit more and he had them up over here. I hadn't really been paying attention to what he was doing, but I just assumed that he probably did something stupid with his fighters and got him shot down. Yeah, I'm going to try and get some flooding on this New Mexico. I know he's definitely going to take some flooding from these torpedoes because he's going to eat one on the nose. And what I'm doing here, I could have saved that second set of torpedoes for probably another, 10-15 seconds, waited for his repair to come off and got flooding on his nose with that. But I wanted to get that second set of torpedoes out so that the battleship behind him would see those things coming and kind of hesitate just for a split second, because I really do want to try and put as much ground between that ship and myself. And I was really scared of getting taken out here because New Mexico is a great shotgun, but it looks like he's a little bit too preoccupied with the Mutsu there. And luckily for me, I do actually get a fire on New Mexico. His repair is not going to be active anymore because the time has elapsed for that. I think the American battleships have a 20-second repair, yeah. And he actually dies from fire damage after eating 2 torpedoes from that Mutsu. So at this point, I think we've basically won the game. The friendly carrier actually destroyed the enemy Mutsu with his strike group. So that was a good job for him on that particular instance. And I thought about chasing down the carrier, but then after I thought about it, I don't really want to lose this game. I wasn't really too particularly impressed by some of the stuff that I had seen from our carrier so far this game, as far as scouting and his fighter use and everything else. So I decided to go ahead and basically run from the enemy carrier, put as much distance between myself and his strike groups, because I know all it's going to take is maybe 1 or 2 bombs from a dive bomber and I'm going to be toast. But luckily my carrier actually brings his fighters over, although there are the enemy dive bombers right there, and so far he isn't moving his fighters in a position to intercept them, which is bad news bears. I actually have to type get the dive bombers before he actually moves his fighter group into a position to actually attack them. And I'm still going to try and dodge this. Didn't really help though. I ate it, almost died, but luckily. Okay, so moving on to the results. Wasn't too bad for my first outing in the Farragut in the ranked environment. Actually did 72,000 damage and sunk 3 ships. Got quite a few torpedo hits thanks to the placement of the islands and myself. But only captured 1 cap point, but that was all I needed to do because where the enemy pushed themselves. And ended up with 1,800 base XP and on the top of the team there, which was pretty good. If that game lasted any longer, I might have actually died. But since this game, I've actually tried playing cruisers and a couple of other things. I find it very hard to play cruisers or battleships because you really do rely so heavily upon your destroyers to actually make smart decisions and provide smoke and not get themselves killed. And so far what I've found is that most destroyer players are not interested in preserving their own ships. So I've basically relegated myself to playing destroyers because I have a hard time trusting anybody else to do it. But anyways, that's sort of my thoughts on ranked at this moment. And if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Okay, so moving on to the results.